a must-win game for India. Under cloudy skies like that, grim and gloomy, a pitch so green, we are finding ourselves searching for the cattle. This is the one toss that they did not want to lose. That's 5 out of 5 now for Gill. Somebody find him a mystic. Find him a guru. Because his luck, it just does not seem to be there, not even an inch of it. Look, I think it would be quite nice of me to call that run out luck. It was not luck, it was just bad decision making, and that's been one of the pits, I think, for India in this series, is that they find themselves in commanding positions, more so in tough conditions. They find themselves in very, very good partnerships, and then one of the two players just somehow does something that is completely against the run of play almost, because they always look like they're in these positions where they're almost impossible to get out, and then that happens. I mean, the sound of Shubman Gill's bat is as crisp as what we've heard this entire series, and his wicket is so important because, yeah, he got 21, but look at this. I mean, every time he's gone past 20 in this series, he's made 100, not a 50, not a 60, not a 70. He's made 100. So I guess it wasn't wrong of everybody to thought, oh, here we go. This is a big one. This is going to be a big one in tough, tough conditions. What I will say is that I do actually think that India have been lucky. I mean, England have been crap with the ball. Okay, they've been all over the place. All right, India is so focused on a bat-heavy lineup. We've seen Ravichandran Ashwin saying, you know, they're sacrificing proper bowling, threatening bowling options to lengthen the batting lineup. Why are you so worried, guys? I mean, you've got Ekatan, extra Esh here, pretty much outscoring a lot of guys in the top 6. So what was the concern about the batting? I don't understand. No, England have been terrible. But then sometimes it only takes one ball. You know, one ball to get the wicket. It's that kind of pitch. It's that kind of conditions. It's very green. It's the greenest that we've seen it. But it kind of reminds me a bit of a Marco Jansen as well. How often does this guy bowl a no ball and then the very next ball is a wicket, or such a wayward? Sometimes I even think to myself, he's doing it on purpose so that batters can sort of start relaxing, let down their defences, and then the next ball is an absolute rocket, cracker, jaffa. That's kind of the type of balls that we saw Sai Sudarshan, whom I thought looked really, really good. I mean, how do you play that ball, guys? That was like on 4.5 stump. But it's good for England to have Gus Atkinson back. I think they've really, really missed him. We'll get to England's bowlers. You know, I just want to say one more thing about Gill, though, and this is another reason I thought he looked really, really good. Just look at this real quick here. Ricky Ponting pointed this out. He stands so far out of his crease, right? And for a guy like Chris Woakes, who's got his very set line and length, he's incredibly accurate. For somebody like a Chris Woakes, then, if Gill is that far out of the crease, then Woakes' natural length, you know, it's not going to do the same damage as what it would. So what that means is Woakes would be great for England to have Mark Wood. Woakes would have to then pull his length back, bowl shorter, and then we see that shot from Gill, you know which one I'm talking about, this sort of low pull jab kind of thing that he's sort of mastered himself now. Then we just saw Gill score a couple of those, or at least one of them. So yeah, Gill's wicket was so important, and again that momentum just sort of shifted. But for England, great to have Gus Atkinson back. He just looks fire. You know, I think in his first over he was already bowling a 140 km/h kind of delivery. A couple of those, he's good, he's accurate, he knows how to play at the oval. Jaiswal, I got in a little bit of a thing there with one of my friends about Jaiswal. Guys, a tough series for him, I think, because he's one of those players. He makes some of the most amazing centuries, eye-catching centuries, flamboyant centuries. That is the type of thing that you think about a lot, and you kind of hold on to that. It's almost like Karun Nair scoring 300 and then there was a bunch of low scores, right? The thing with Jaiswal here is that I really think before he was criticised because he was trying to be too attacking, right? Sort of like throwing away his wicket. But what we saw this morning was really tough conditions to bat in. It kind of felt like old England. You know, this is not the kind of England that we saw in the other 4 test matches. This felt like this is the kind of England people come to and they struggle to bat. So perhaps in the back of his mind, he was thinking, all right, I need to survive. a kind of like a timid sort of like approach to his batting, not really looking to score runs, not a lot of intent there, just to get through the hour. And here's the thing about the Oval, when it's like this and the ball bounces and the carry is true, sorry, the bounce is true and there's a lot of carry, you know, batters can quite comfortably leave on length. If the ball pitches on length, it's going to bounce over. You know, you're not going to get me LB. You're not going to get me bowled day one as well, you know, fresh pitch. And so I feel like that's something that was in his mind, you know, was that, okay, how can I survive? And sometimes for certain players, if it's against their character, it's very much in KL Rahul's character. But for me, for Jaiswal, I still think he needs to look to score runs, you know. So if we look at the video here again, completely misjudged, you know, the movement of the ball, didn't read it at all. But I'm just wondering to myself, if you've been playing very defensively, you know, you've been leaving the ball a lot, and here's where the argument came in. If you've been leaving the ball a lot, I just wonder if you then just somehow have that defensive type of mindset, because look at where that ball pitches. You know, there's no way that ball's going to go over the stumps. It's not a length ball, it's too full, right? And so he completely misjudged it. He was late on his shot. So here's another thing, you know, about him. We saw him being squared up in the previous test, and now there's this, because what Gus Atkinson did, it was very good planning as well. He threw a couple outside to be like, okay, mate, are you going to go for it? Are you going to try and hit a boundary? Because that's what Jaiswal does, right? He doesn't mind playing balls 6th, 7th, 8th stump. He didn't really go for any of those. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, let's just throw one up. It's kind of like very old school planning, but it was good. And he got rid of Jaiswal. So I just wonder about his mindset for this, but it must feel like he can't win at this point, because we're coming at him for being too attacking. Now people might come at him for having a bit more of a defensive sort of style. So look, this happens sometimes with young batters. They have a fantastic first year, and then teams start developing all of these types of plans against them, and then you have to constantly reinvent yourself. That's why you look at people like Stephen Smith, Joe Root, we saw with Kohli before, obviously the last few months, Kane Williamson, they have to constantly reinvent themselves. So if he does want to be, I don't believe there's a new Fab Four, by the way, but if he wants to be among those that people consider as the greats of the future, he's going to have to work on these types of things. Look, again, we're not, I think yesterday we spoke about Ashdeep Singh, we spoke about Kuldeep Yadav, we're not seeing either of them. And it's interesting because Nasser Hussain and DK were talking on the combox about this, and Nasser Hussain was like, don't try and rectify your mistake at Manchester by trying to pick Kuldeep here, because this isn't a place for spinners, for wrist spinners, etc. Manchester, very much so, but not here. And then DK actually brought up, you know, the great Shane Warne, who's actually, you know, who's got a really great record at the Oval. So I feel like sometimes this is, again, you know, listening to England and trying to maybe do what England is doing. Just because they don't have wrist spinners that bowl well at a certain venue or this venue or that venue doesn't mean that you can't have some sort of magician coming in. I mean, if Afghanistan was playing here, they would be picking Rashid Khan. And I bet you right now, England would be crapping their pants if they would have to face Rashid Khan. Whether or not it is a place conducive, you know, to spinning or not, they would crap their pants, okay? Because how many weapon balls does a Rashid Khan have? How many weapon balls does a Kuldeep Yadav have? So I guess we'll have to find out. If the conditions are going to change tomorrow, then again, you know, England bat till number 10, guys. So do you think that India, if we look at the 11 here, are there sufficient enough choices for them to be able to take 20 wickets? Because, I mean, I think England would want to go for the win, but what's more important for them, the World Test Championship or winning this series? Because people are very quickly to say that, you know, the World Test Championship and that sort of thing is unfair. But, I mean, we'll have to see how England play here. I'll speak about that topic another day because I've got some interesting things to say. But I think a good day of Test cricket. England really caught up by getting all of these wickets, even with the rain that was lost. But a good day, and I think, you know, now with Sundar out there, and Karun Nair has also batted quite well. He's under a lot of pressure. But what were your thoughts, guys?